The massive alien space station stretched across the void like a crystal city, its towers gleaming with lights that hurt human eyes to look at directly. Ambassador Lee Jin-ho walked through corridors that seemed to bend reality itself, the delegation of 3 humans following behind him, like children visiting a museum far beyond their understanding. Jin-ho tried not to show his nervousness as they approached the central chamber. The walls around them pulsed with colors that had no names in any human language. Strange beings floated past them in the corridors, some with too many arms, others with no arms at all, creatures that looked like living shadows and others that seemed to be made of pure energy. Remember, Jin-ho whispered to his companions, "We represent all of humanity today. Stay calm, stay respectful." Shh. Commander Park So-young nodded, her hand instinctively moving toward where her sidearm would normally be. Dr. Kim Min-soo, their science advisor, was too busy staring at the impossible architecture to respond. The walls seemed to exist in more dimensions than his human brain could process. The great doors to the central chamber opened with a sound like singing crystals. Inside, the room was enormous, so large that Earth's entire United Nations building could have fit inside with room to spare. At the center, arranged in a perfect circle, sat the representatives of the Galactic Consortium. High Chancellor Morthic dominated the center of the circle. His serpentine body coiled on a throne that floated 3 feet above the floor. His scales shifted color as he moved, and his yellow eyes were larger than human heads. Around him sat beings that looked like walking trees, creatures covered in blue fur with 6 legs, and things that Jin-ho's mind struggled to identify as alive at all. So, Morthic's voice filled the chamber without him seeming to speak, the words appearing directly in their minds through translation technology beyond human understanding. "These are the humans." A ripple of sound that might have been laughter echoed through the assembled aliens. Jin-ho felt his cheeks burn, but kept his expression neutral. "We are honored by your invitation, High Chancellor," Jin-ho said, his voice sounding small in the vast chamber. "Invitation?" Morthic's amusement was clear in his mental voice. "Oh, little human, you misunderstand our purpose here." One of the tree-like beings leaned forward. "You've been watching your species for some time. You showed ... potential. In perhaps a few thousand years, you might even develop proper space travel." Proper space travel. Commander Park stepped forward, unable to contain herself. "We crossed interstellar space to get here." The chamber erupted in what was definitely laughter this time. Morthic's coils shook with mirth. "You call that space travel? Chemical rockets? Fusion drives? You might as well be throwing stones at the stars?" A creature that looked like a floating jellyfish pulsed with bioluminescent patterns. Their weapons are equally primitive. Kinetic projectiles and explosive charges. How ... quaint. Your entire civilization, added another voice. This one from a being that seemed to be made of living metal, produces less energy than a single one of our mining stations. Your population could fit in one of our city ships. Dr. Kim finally found his voice. "Our technology may seem basic to you, but we've achieved remarkable things. We've split the atom, mapped our genome, created artificial intelligence." This brought fresh waves of alien laughter. Morthic's eyes gleamed with condescending amusement. "Artificial intelligence? You mean those crude computer programs? We achieved true artificial consciousness before your species learned to make fire. Nuclear fission?" The metallic being's laughter sounded like grinding gears. "We were manipulating matter at the quantum level when your planet was still cooling from its formation." Jin-ho felt his jaw tighten, but he forced himself to remain diplomatic. "Perhaps our technology is less advanced than yours, but less advanced," Morthic interrupted. "Dear little human, you are not less advanced. You are barely past the Stone Age by galactic standards. Your species is a curiosity, nothing more." The High Chancellor floated closer to the human delegation, his massive form casting them in shadow. "But do not despair. We are not without mercy. We offer you a place." "In the galactic community, a place?" Jin-ho asked carefully. "Yes, under our protection, of course. Your system has useful raw materials. Your species could be trained to extract them efficiently. In return, We would ensure your survival. Commander Park's hand clenched into a fist. You're talking about making us slaves? Slaves? Morthic seemed genuinely puzzled. Such a harsh word. We prefer to think of it as ... guidance. Your species lacks the maturity for true independence. You wage wars against your own kind, you pollute your single planet, you cannot even agree on basic governance. Many species have benefited from our guidance. Added the tree-like being. The Vorthok were once as primitive as you. Now they run 3 of our most efficient mining operations. The choice is simple, Morthok concluded. Accept our protection and guidance, or face the harsh realities of a galaxy you are not equipped to understand. There are forces out there that would not be as generous as we are. Ginho looked around the chamber at the assembled aliens, seeing nothing but arrogance and contempt in their alien features. Every instinct told him to accept, to take whatever deal would keep humanity safe. But something deeper, something essentially human, rebelled against the idea. We appreciate your generous offer, Ginho said slowly, his voice carrying across the silent chamber. But humanity respectfully declines. The silence that followed was complete, and Morthic began to laugh. It sounded like breaking glass in their minds. Declines, he wheezed. The primitive mammals decline our protection? How utterly ... entertaining? The message came exactly 72 hours after the human delegation returned to Earth. It appeared on every screen, every communication device, every piece of technology capable of displaying information across the entire planet. The translation was perfect, the tone unmistakably threatening. People of Earth, the voice of High Chancellor Morthic echoed in every language simultaneously. You have had time to consider our generous offer. Your leaders have chosen poorly. We are sending a small fleet to demonstrate the consequences of defying the Galactic Consortium. You have one final chance to submit before we show you why 1,000 civilizations have chosen wisdom over pride. President Kim Hye-jin sat in the underground war room beneath the capital, surrounded by his top military advisors. The massive screens showed 12 alien ships approaching the edge of the solar system, each one larger than any human vessel ever built. 12 ships, muttered Defense Minister Choi Min-jun, his face pale as he studied the tactical display. Each one could probably destroy our entire fleet. Size of Manhattan, added General Han Subin, her fingers dancing across her tablet as she reviewed the latest intelligence reports. Advanced shields, plasma weapons, faster-than-light capability, everything we expected. Kim Hye-jin leaned back in his chair, feeling the weight of 8 billion lives pressing down on him and our preparations. Complete, sir, General Han replied. Phoenix Command reports all assets are in position. Every ship, every weapon, every piece of equipment we've been building for the past 30 years is ready. 30 years, the president whispered. Ever since the first alien probe crashed in the Pacific, it had been humanity's greatest secret. While the world celebrated first contact and prepared for diplomatic relations, a small group of scientists and engineers had been working around the clock to understand the alien technology. Every crashed probe, every accidental encounter with alien scout ships, every piece of advanced technology that had mysteriously found its way to Earth had been studied, reverse-engineered, and improved upon. The alien fleet moved through space with arrogant confidence. Admiral Kelthanor stood on the bridge of his flagship, the massive dreadnought Voidrender, watching the primitive solar system grow larger on his screens. His tactical officers reported what they expected to find. A few orbital defense platforms. Around the third planet, some primitive interceptor craft, and a lot of panicked radio chatter. Sir, his communications officer announced, we're receiving multiple transmissions from the human homeworld. They appear to be pleading for mercy. Kelthanor's mandibles clicked with amusement. Of course they are. Scan their defensive capabilities. Minimal, sir. I'm detecting approximately 50 small vessels in orbit around their planet. Nothing that could threaten even our smallest escort ship. 50 ships? Kelthanor laughed, the sound echoing through. The bridge? Against 12 dreadnoughts? This will be over in minutes. What the alien sensors couldn't detect was the advanced stealth technology that humanity had spent 3 decades perfecting. The 50 ships were decoys, broadcasting false energy signatures to fool the consortium's instruments. The real human fleet was spread throughout the solar system. It's invisible to alien sensors. Waiting, Captain Lee Dongmin floated in the zero-gravity command center of the UES Retribution, one of humanity's most advanced vessels. Unlike the chemical-powered rockets the aliens expected, his ship was powered by a quantum drive that bent space-time itself. The hull was covered in metamaterials that absorbed and redirected sensor waves, making it effectively invisible. "All ships report ready," his second-in-command, Lieutenant Commander Park JSU, whispered into her headset. "Stealth systems holding. The aliens still don't know we're here." Dongmin nodded, watching the alien fleet approach on his 3-dimensional tactical display. Each enemy ship was marked with detailed information that had been gathered over years of careful observation. Humanity knew the exact specifications of every consortium vessel, their weapons, their shields, their weaknesses. "Phoenix Command, this is Retribution Actual," Dongmin spoke into his communication device. "Enemy fleet is approaching engagement. Range. Request permission to execute Protocol 7. The response came immediately from Earth. "Retribution Actual, this is Phoenix Command. You are authorized to execute Protocol 7. Show them what humanity is capable of." Admiral Kelthner opened a communication channel to the human homeworld as his fleet passed the orbit of Jupiter. "Humans of Earth, this is Admiral Kelthner of the Zephyrian First Fleet. Your time has expired. Surrender now, and your species will be preserved as a protected race. Resist, and you will join the countless civilizations that learned too late. The price of defying the consortium." The response came from the planet below, broadcast on all frequencies. President Kim Hae-jin's face appeared on the alien screens, his expression calm but determined. "Admiral Kelthner, this is President Kim Hae-jin of the United Earth Federation. We have considered your offer carefully, and our answer remains unchanged. We will not kneel to anyone." Kelthner's laugh was like the sound of breaking metal. "Then you have chosen extinction." Fleet advanced to Earth, prepared to demonstrate the consequences of defiance. The 12 alien ships moved deeper into the solar system, their weapons charging with deadly energy. As they passed the asteroid belt, space around them began to shimmer strangely, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. "Sir," the tactical officer called out, his voice carrying a note of confusion, "I'm detecting some kind of quantum disturbance. It's almost like the space around us is... ... He never finished the sentence. Space erupted in brilliant flashes of light as hundreds of human ships decloaked simultaneously, surrounding the alien fleet in a perfect 3-dimensional formation. The consortium ships found themselves trapped in the middle of a sphere of human vessels, each one bristling with weapons they had never seen before. Admiral Kelthner stared at his displays in shock. How is this possible? The alien fleet found themselves surrounded by a sight that broke every rule they knew about human technology. The ships that had appeared around them were not the crude metal boxes they expected. These vessels were sleek and angular, their hulls seeming to bend light around them like liquid mirrors. They moved through space with impossible grace. As if the laws of physics were merely suggestions, Admiral Kelthner gripped his command chair as his instruments screamed warnings at him. "This cannot be real. Our intelligence reports said they were primitive. They used chemical rockets and metal bullets." His science officer, a nervous creature with multiple arms, frantically worked at his console. "Sir, these ships they're using technology I don't recognize. Their hulls are made of materials that shouldn't exist, and their energy signatures." "What about their energy signatures?" Kelthner demanded. "They're not just advanced, sir. They're using our own technology, but improved. These power cores are more efficient than anything in our fleet." Captain Lee Dongmin stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution, watching the confusion spread through the alien fleet. His ship was a masterpiece of human engineering, built from 30 years of studying every piece of alien technology that had accidentally found its way to Earth. The hull was covered in quantum smart materials that could shift between different states of matter. The The weapons were powered by controlled microsingularities that humanity had learned to create from studying alien gravitational drives. Sir, his weapons officer, Lieutenant Kim Dae-hee, reported all systems are green. Gravitational pulse cannons are charged and ready. Quantum torpedo tubes are loaded. Gravitational pulse cannons? Dongmin smiled. The same aliens who mocked our primitive kinetic weapons are about to learn what real kinetic energy looks like. Commander Park Ji-soo approached him with a tablet showing the tactical situation. Captain, we have perfect positioning. All 300 ships are in formation around the enemy fleet. They can't move without running into our weapons. Dongmin nodded. Open a channel to the alien fleet. It's time they learn the truth about humanity. The transmission burst through the alien communication systems with a clarity that made their own technology seem ancient. Captain Dongmin's face appeared on Admiral Kelthoner's main screen, his expression calm, but his eyes burning with quiet intensity. Admiral Kelthoner, Dongmin began, his voice carrying clearly through the translation systems. This is Captain Lee Dongmin of the United Earth Federation Space Force. You wanted to test our capabilities? You wanted to see what humanity could do when threatened. Congratulations. You're about to find out. Kelthoner's mandibles clicked nervously. Impossible. Our scans showed only primitive technology. Your ships burn chemical fuel. Your weapons are crude projectiles. Our ships that you were allowed to see, Dongmin corrected. Did you really think we would show you our real capabilities? Every crashed probe, every accidental encounter with your scout ships, every piece of technology you carelessly left behind, we studied it all. The tactical display shifted to show the human fleet in its full glory. 300 ships arranged in perfect formation, each one bristling with weapons that defied alien understanding. The hulls seemed to shift and flow like living things, their surfaces covered in technology that the consortium had never seen before. You see, Dongmin continued, while you were busy laughing at our chemical rockets, we were busy building quantum drives. While you mocked our kinetic weapons, we were perfecting gravitational manipulation. While you dismissed us as primitive, we were learning everything about you. Dr. Kim Min-soo, now serving as the fleet's chief science officer, appeared beside the captain. Every alien technology we encountered was reverse-engineered and improved. Your plasma weapons taught us about contained fusion reactions. Your shield generators showed us how to manipulate electromagnetic fields. Your faster-than-light drives revealed the secrets of space-time manipulation. But we didn't just copy your technology, Dongmin added. We made it better. Human creativity, human ingenuity, human determination, these are things you never factored into your equations. Admiral Kelthonor's voice shook with disbelief. You're lying. No species develops this quickly. It takes thousands of years to achieve such technological advancement. You're right, Dongmin agreed. It does take thousands of years. Fortunately, we had teachers from across the galaxy. Every species in the consortium contributed to our education, whether they knew it or not. Lieutenant Kim Dae-hee looked up from her console. Captain, enemy ships are powering weapons. Should we respond? Not yet, Dongmin replied calmly. Then make the first move. Want them to understand exactly what they're facing. The alien fleet's plasma cannons began to glow with deadly energy, their particle beam weapons charging for a devastating first strike. But as they prepared to fire, something impossible happened. The human ships began to phase in and out of normal space, their quantum drives allowing them to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Sir, the alien tactical officer screamed, the human ships are shifting between quantum states. Our weapons can't lock onto them. Dongmin's smile was cold. Admiral, you wanted to see our defensive capabilities. Quantum phase shifting. We learned it from your own dimensional research stations. It's amazing what you can discover when you put your mind to it. The human fleet moved with perfect coordination, their ships dancing through space like a school of mechanical fish. Each vessel was connected to the others through quantum entanglement communication, allowing them to act as a single organism with 300 bodies. Now Dongmin said, his voice carrying the authority of 8 billion humans behind him. Let me show you what we call real weapons. The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. It was not really a battle at all, but a demonstration of power so precise and overwhelming that it left the alien fleet helpless without destroying a single ship. Admiral Kelthanor gave the order to fire. 12 massive alien dreadnoughts unleashed their full power at once. Plasma beams hot enough to melt asteroids lanced through space. Particle cannons fired streams of destructive energy. And quantum missiles streaked toward the human fleet with enough explosive force to crack a moon. Every shot missed the human. Ships flickered in and out of normal space like ghosts, their quantum drives allowing them to exist in multiple dimensions at once. The alien weapons passed through empty space where the human vessels had been milliseconds before. Their targeting systems unable to lock onto enemies that existed in 17 different probability states simultaneously. Impossible. Kelthanor roared, his scales shifting to angry red colors. Nothing can move that fast. Nothing can phase through normal space like that. The science officer's voice was barely a whisper. Sir, they're not moving fast. They're manipulating quantum uncertainty itself. Exist and don't exist at the same time until they choose to become solid. Captain Dongmin watched the alien attacks pass harmlessly through his fleet. All ships, this is Retribution Actual. Execute Response Protocol Alpha. Disable their weapons, but keep their life support intact. We want survivors to tell this story. The human counterattack began with surgical precision. Instead of the massive energy weapons the aliens expected, the human ships fired something far more terrifying: controlled gravity pulses that could manipulate matter at the molecular level. Commander Yoon Dae-hee, the captain of the UES Horizon, targeted the lead alien ship with her gravitational pulse cannon. The weapon fired a beam of concentrated gravitational force that struck the alien vessel's main gun. The massive plasma cannon simply came apart, its molecular bonds disrupted by forces the aliens didn't understand. Target neutralized, she reported. Their main weapon is offline, but their hull integrity is intact. Across the battlefield, similar scenes played out as the human fleet systematically disabled the alien ships. Quantum torpedoes phased through alien shields as if they didn't exist, their exotic matter payloads designed to overload power systems rather than destroy them. Gravitational manipulation beams twisted alien weapon turrets into useless metal sculptures without harming the crews inside, the alien fleet's shields. Their pride and joy were completely useless. The human weapons operated on principles that made conventional defenses meaningless. Energy shields couldn't stop weapons that existed in multiple dimensions. Armor plating couldn't protect against forces that attacked the bonds between atoms themselves. Sir, the alien tactical officer reported, his voice filled with terror, all primary weapons are offline. Secondary weapons are not responding. Shields are intact, but the enemy weapons are simply ignoring them. Admiral Kelthanor watched his mighty fleet being taken apart piece by piece. How are they doing this? How are they penetrating our defenses? They're not penetrating them, sir, the science officer replied. They're bypassing them entirely. Their weapons exist in quantum states that our shields can't interact with. Captain Lee Beho, commanding the EU's Thunder, demonstrated humanity's most frightening capability. His ship fired a gravitational pulse that created a temporary space-time distortion around an alien vessel. The enemy ship found itself trapped in a bubble of altered physics, its engines unable to function, its weapons unable to fire, its crew unharmed, but completely helpless. This is what we learned from your own gravity drives, Beho transmitted to the alien ship. Amazing what you can do when you really understand how gravity works. One by one, the alien dreadnoughts went silent.
Ow.
Their weapon systems were disabled. Their engines were offline. Their shields were intact but useless. The human fleet had achieved something unprecedented in galactic warfare: complete victory. Without a single casualty on either side. Then space itself seemed to tear open near Jupiter, and something impossible emerged from the quantum foam. It was a space station the size of a small moon, its hull black as night and covered in weapons that made the fleet's armaments look like toys. Massive gravitational cannons that could crack planets, quantum beam arrays that could disrupt matter, At the subatomic level, and at its center, something that made the alien sensors scream in terror. "What is that thing?" Kelthanor whispered, staring at the readings on his screen.
I'll say.
His science officer's voice was barely audible. "It's a controlled singularity. They've weaponized a black hole." The massive station rotated slowly, bringing its main weapon to bear on the disabled alien fleet. The gravitational cannon was large enough to swallow a city, its barrel lined with exotic matter that could focus the power of a collapsed star into a coherent beam. Captain Dongman's voice echoed across all frequencies. "Admiral Kelthanor, meet Big Bertha. She's what we call a big gun. We have 17 more just like her positioned throughout the solar system." The alien admiral's proud bearing finally cracked. 17? Do you have 17 of these? These weapons? "We've been busy," Dongmin replied simply. 30 years of preparation, 30 years of learning from every species that thought they were superior to us, 30 years of being underestimated. Big Bertha's main weapon began to charge. Its gravitational field so powerful that it bent light around it like a lens. The alien ships, helpless and disabled, could only watch as humanity's ultimate weapon prepared to demonstrate its power. "You wanted to see what humanity is capable of," Dongman said, his voice carrying the weight of history. "You wanted to test our resolve? You wanted to show us our place in the galaxy?" The weapon's charge reached critical levels, space itself groaning under the strain. "Now you know." The news traveled faster than light across the galaxy, carried by quantum communication networks that connected every inhabited world. The impossible had happened. The mighty Galactic Consortium fleet had been defeated by the species they had dismissed as primitive animals on the crystal homeworld of the Zephyrians. High Chancellor Morthic stood in his private chamber, reading report after report with growing disbelief. His scales had turned a sickly gray color. His coiled body trembled as he processed the information flooding in from across the galaxy. "This cannot be accurate," he whispered to his aide, a nervous creature called Scritch, who had served him for decades. 12 of our finest ships defeated by chemical-burning primitives. It's impossible." Scritch's multiple eyes blinked rapidly. "High Chancellor, the reports are confirmed by 17 different sources. The human fleet appeared from nowhere. Using technology our best scientists cannot explain. It disabled our entire task force without destroying a single ship." Disabled, Morthic's voice cracked. "How does one disable a consortium dreadnought?" They attacked the molecular bonds in our weapons, sir. They used gravity itself as a weapon. They exist in multiple quantum states simultaneously. Our survivors are calling it impossible, but the evidence is undeniable. But the defeat of the fleet was only the beginning. Across the galaxy, species that had lived under consortium rule for thousands of years began to stir. The Altarians, who had been forced to mine radioactive crystals for centuries, sent a formal message to Earth requesting protection. The Korthok Collective, tired of giving half their food production to the consortium, declared independence and asked for human support. Ambassador Ginho sat in the newly constructed human embassy on the neutral world of Nexus Station. The flood of requests poured in. Species after species wanted to meet with the humans, to learn about the ones who had dared to say no to the consortium and won. 17 formal requests for alliance, his assistant, Secretary Park Min-young, reported. 43 requests for technological exchange. And over 200 species asking for basic diplomatic contact. Jinho rubbed his tired eyes. And the consortium? High Chancellor Morthic has requested an urgent meeting. He wants to discuss ... new terms. The meeting took place in the same crystal chamber where the humans had first been mocked. But now, the atmosphere was completely different. The aliens who had laughed at humanity's primitive technology sat in uncomfortable silence, their earlier arrogance replaced by nervous fear. Morthic floated into the room, his movements lacking the confident grace he had shown before. When he spoke, his mental voice carried none of its previous condescension. "Ambassador Jinho," he began carefully, "perhaps we were hasty in our initial assessment of your species." Jinho took his seat calmly, noting how the alien representatives avoided direct eye contact. Perhaps, he agreed. But let's focus on the future rather than past misunderstandings. Indeed, Morthic said quickly. The consortium would like to offer humanity full membership status, equal representation in all council decisions, access to all our trade networks, complete autonomy over your territory. That's generous, Jinho replied. We have some conditions of our own. The chamber fell silent. For 10,000 years, the consortium had dictated terms to everyone else. Now they were being asked to accept conditions from the species they had tried to subjugate. Any species that wishes to leave the consortium and establish independent relations with Earth may do so freely, Jinho began. No retaliation, no economic pressure, no military intervention.